Tonight, we're exposing a pattern of manipulation that would make Orwell blush. Not only has Donald Trump launched a $10 billion lawsuit against CBS News for allegedly doctoring Kamala Harris's interview, but now we're watching CNN and others deliberately twist his words about Liz Cheney. They're claiming he called for violence when in reality, he was pointing out the hypocrisy of Warhawks who send others to fight while never facing danger themselves. The deception is systematic, and we have the receipt. Now, you know what's interesting about these media deceptions? They're trying to make you see something that isn't there, just like those expensive creams that promise reverse aging but don't address the real problem. It's collagen loss. After the age of 20, did you know your body produces 12% less collagen each decade? That's why I'm passionate about our sponsor's collagen supplement. Unlike the mainstream media's edited content, this is the real deal. 5 types of premium collagen that actually work. Just like Trump's fighting for truth in media, I'm fighting for your right to look and feel younger. Visit healthwithgary.com now while the 51% discount still lasts. Okay, so this was on the front page of the Drudge Report. Did you see this? Trump calls for Cheney's execution. What a shame. The Drudge Report used to be such a great place to go and get news and information, and now they are even twisting the truth worse than CNN ever could. Yeah, that's the big narrative right now. We're also learning that Republican presidential candidate Donald J. Trump has now sued CBS on Thursday over an interview of his Democrat rival Kamala Harris, aired in early October, that said the lawsuit alleged was doctored and misleading, according to the court filing. Yeah, this is huge. Here we have a brief news bit on that. $10 billion.
CBS Youre says she was speaking in Phoenix, Arizona, and we actually do have some breaking news related to this. Former President Donald Trump is suing CBS News for $10 billion over what he is claiming was deceitful doctoring of an interview with Harris. Now, Fox News Digital obtained the affidavit exclusively today, and I have it right here to read to you. I did want to read you a part of this. I'm also just going to pull up some of this quote here. As you can see, it says, this action concerns CBS's partisan and unlawful acts of election and voter interference through malicious, deceptive, and substantial news distortion calculated to confuse, deceive, and mislead the public, an attempt to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party as the heated 2024 presidential election, which President Trump is leading, that's what this says, they're claiming that, approaches its conclusion. Again, we are just getting this news in here, a Fox News Digital exclusive. Here's what we know right now. Trump attorneys said the complaint comes due to CBS's partisan and unlawful acts of election and voter interference through malicious, deceptive, and substantial news distortion calculated to confuse, deceive, and mislead the public. That was the verbiage that I just read to you, and you can see it on your screen from this lawsuit that we are reading right now. Trump attorneys are also arguing the edits were done in an effort to, quote, attempt to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party as the election approaches its conclusion. Now, this lawsuit comes after Trump's attorneys wrote letters to CBS News demanding the network release the full transcript of this 60 Minutes interview with Harris after it aired 2 different answers to the same question. Trump attorneys asked CBS to preserve all the documents and communications related to the interview pending a potential legal battle. Again, if you are just joining us.
Oh, yeah, the battle is on. Take them for all they're frickin' worth, and maybe even revoke their broadcast license. Yeah, that would be something else, right? Because what they did was absolutely deceptive. Here is Trump just 5 days ago talking about it, threatening it, but now we're seeing it come to fruition.
If you watch that interview, you would never want her as your president. She couldn't answer the simplest question. What's going to be the first thing you think about? What are you going to do? I grew up with a beautiful lawn. She said that in the debate, too, the same stuff. I had David Muir and that other one. I don't even know who the hell her name is. I don't want to know her name. Somebody said, "Oh, we'll get her name." So I don't want to know her name. Why would I want to know her name? Just say, "Madam, no name." But they were hitting me left and right. They're the worst. I'll tell you, actually, ABC might be the worst, but I think 60 Minutes has really topped it, though. 60 Minutes interviewed Kamala, and she was incapable of answering questions. And they took the main question, like one of the early questions, but a big question. They asked, and it was, I don't like the word salad. To me, it's like stupid. But it was just a big jumble of words. It was just like rambling on. It didn't go anywhere. And, okay, they asked a question. They took it out, threw it away, and they put a brand new answer in that was a fake answer. Didn't even pertain to that question. And they got caught.
Yep.
And to me, it's the biggest scandal in broadcast history. It's election interference fraud. And 60 Minutes should be taken off the air. They should. And CBS should lose its license. You know, the government gives us license to NBC fake news, ABC fake news, and CBS fake news. They have to pay. If they had to pay, they'd pay billions of dollars to get them for nothing. They pay nothing. They're public airways. They pay nothing. And you know what? The one thing is you have to be honest. And they were very dishonest. And ABC was very dishonest with David Muir when he just never asked her anything. Everything I answered, boom, they would criticize. And they were wrong on, I think, all of them. And all of her answers were wrong. They never questioned her.
We've got even more coming out from this. Let's see. Trump has filed a major lawsuit against CBS News, accusing them of interfering in the 2024 election by editing Kamala's 60-minute interview. Now, if you don't know what we're talking about, I believe we do have, here's the video.
Movements in.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it's
wow. I mean, such a clear-cut case of fraud. This is 60 Minutes, but this is the state of media today. They are out of control. I mean, this is really fake news. What you just saw is the definition of fake news, and that is why nobody trusts the media anymore. It's the very reason why I started this channel, was because I couldn't trust what they were saying, and I needed to go find out for myself and present to the American people and correct all the lies that we're seeing every single day. Insurrection Barbie, Trump announced he's suing CBS for $10 billion for deceptive doctoring of the interview. President Trump, here's another, I mean, he's not been holding back on this.
They took it, they changed Kamala's answer. They didn't edit. They took her entire, which showed she was crazy. They took it out, the entire paragraph, and it was a long, lots of, they say word salad. I don't like the term, actually, but they say word salad. It was just words, like rambling words, horrible. Yeah. So they take it out, and they put another statement that she made 2 pages later. They insert it, and nobody would have known the difference, and they got caught. They got caught.
Yeah, you've nailed CBS.
And I think it's the worst scandal. You know, it's one thing if they took even a sentence off, because they do that with me all the time, because I like to speak in long sentences, paragraphs, right? And if they take a sentence out, like in the middle, it really does screw it up. But think of this. They took the whole thing in, and they replaced it with a totally unrelated time and place, and they put it in. And that's the only one that we caught. And we want them to release the tapes now. So I think I'm going to sue them, actually.
Good. Go for it.
I think so. No, you know what? They can't defend it. And if they do, and even if they win, it's going to be very embarrassing.
Oh, yeah.
60 Minutes, so I've done it many times. I did it with Mike Wallace. The best one I ever had was Mike Wallace, and he was the biggest killer. You know, Chris tries to be Mike, but you still have to have it.
Yeah, he's not cutting it.
He doesn't.
Oh, yes, the lawsuit is coming. Oh, yes, here it is. This is the big announcement now. This is when he made the announcement.
This is no good. No good. NBC is no good. They're no good. ABC is no good. CBS is no good. And in fact, in honor of you, I just sued CBS today because of 60 Minutes.
Suck it. Okay, well, we're going to get to RFK's remarks in a second here because, well, you know what? There's a reason that what you see on the news is fake. It's because they are kneeling before their advertisers. And RFK made this amazing statement in Arizona last night. A friend of mine was there. But here's a clip of what he said that he's going to advise Trump to do.
Disease epidemic. I said I did 4 in 19 months, and your network never let me on a single time. You're only telling one side of the story. And you're the only thing you'll report about Donald Trump is propaganda to make people despise him. And you know, one of the things I'm going to advise Donald Trump to do in order to correct the chronic disease epidemic is to ban pharmaceutical advertising on TV.
Listen to that
There's only 2 countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical advertising on the airwaves. One of them is New Zealand and the other is us. And we have the highest disease rate and we buy more drugs and they're more expensive than anywhere in the world. Italy spends about 1/6 that we spend on.
Imagine that. You know, you see those commercials. It's like, take this happy pill, but it might just kill you, right? Like they show this young man or this old man. He's jogging through a park. Birds are chirping, beautiful music, right? And they have this narrator that's listing all of these symptoms and side effects of this pill. But the real reason that we need to ban pharmaceutical advertising from TV is because they're the ones that have their finger on the scale. And like all the stuff that we heard during COVID, all those news channels that were pushing those narratives, brought to you by Pfizer, right? So it's time to get rid of those guys. Get them out, and I would be so happy to see that. Let's see, we got some more to get to because this was... Okay, so this is another huge story. Speaking of media manipulation, Donald Trump, he made some remarks. And here, let's listen to the full remarks, and then we're gonna play for you how the media spun this.
She's a radical, and I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical Warhawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all Warhawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
Okay, so that's the full context. The full context of the remarks. But now, like I showed you at the beginning here, they're saying that this is Donald Trump calling for Cheney's execution. The media is having a field day with this, taking him out of context like they always do. Okay, you ready for some of this? Brace yourselves.
And Liz Cheney, 4 days out from Election Day, and former President Donald Trump is escalating his violent rhetoric, suggesting one of his most prominent critics, the former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, should be fired upon.
She's a radical Warhawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all Warhawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Let's see how she feels when the guns are trained on her face. Let's sit with that for a moment. Of course, violent rhetoric, it's not new for Trump.
Wow.
But this stark imagery represents an
They are completely ignoring the full context of what he's saying.
escalation at a tense moment when the country is on edge heading into Tuesday, with 7 in 10 Americans saying they feel anxious or frustrated about the election, according to a new AP poll. And it comes after Trump has raised the specter of using the U.S. military on Americans he calls the enemy within.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. It should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
Oh, wait a minute. So is he talking about the radical leftists that were burning cities down during the summer of love, right? When they wouldn't even bring in the National Guard? Is that what he's referring to? No, but see, CNN wants to take it out of context again.
Throughout the last nearly 10 years, with Trump on the national stage, the public rhetoric has gotten darker and more violent with time.
The man that was I don't know, you say roughed up. He was so obnoxious and so loud. He was screaming. Maybe he should have been roughed up because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
That was during Trump's first campaign. During his administration, he asked his national security team if he could shoot protesters.
Oh, did he?
He was speaking to General Mark Milley when he asked that question of, can't you just shoot him in the legs or something? And I was, shocked by it, to hear this from the President of the United States saying that we shoot our fellow Americans in the streets of the nation's capital.
That was Donald Trump's former defense secretary, Mark Esper. After Trump left office, he suggested the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Mark Milley, should possibly be executed. Milley's phone call with the Chinese to reassure them in the wake of the January 6th riot was, quote, an act so egregious that in times gone by, the punishment would have been death, Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform. Then came his 2024 campaign after actual...
Okay, I've had enough of this woman. But, I mean, isn't it funny how they completely ignore this?
Of the country, maybe there will be. People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
This way. That's it right there. Pulling up.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, who's amping up the rhetoric? I mean, the rhetoric has been turned up by the Democrats to the point where they actually have pulled out guns on Donald Trump on multiple occasions in an attempt to take him out. Alex Pfeiffer, I'm sorry, but no one in the news media heard of criticizing Warhawks for not being in a war zone themselves? Are they dumb or malicious? Cassie Hunt, watch Donald Trump suggests Liz Cheney should be fired upon in an escalation of his violent rhetoric. Carl Quintanilla points out some of the news cycle headlines going into the final weekend. Trump suggests Warhawk Liz Cheney should have guns trained on her face. Politico, suggesting 9 barrels shooting at Cheney, Trump reverts to violent rhetoric. Shameful. CNN, Trump says Warhawk Liz Cheney should be fired upon in escalation of violent rhetoric against his opponents. Wall Street Journal, Trump calls Liz Cheney Warhawk, asks how she would feel with guns trained on her face. That's where we're at right now. Huh. Taking him out of context, but thankfully Donald Trump's fighting back against the fake news. But taking him out of context is nothing like we've seen it time and time again. But the fact that we have this from the Drudge Report is absolutely shameful. Here's more from CNN, launching a full-scale disinfo campaign to confuse voters just 4 days before the presidential election. The network is deceptively editing a comment Trump made during a campaign event in Arizona.
I don't think you even need to call it fired upon. He's saying quite explicitly and unambiguously that Liz Cheney should be shot, should be executed by firing squad.
No.
4 days out from Election Day, and former President Donald Trump is
what he says,
going after someone who's completely inappropriate.
Donald Trump's
one of his most prominent critics, the former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, should be fired upon.
Your reaction to what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it was completely inappropriate, dangerous, and unbecoming of a leader. Mr. Trump was literally going after someone who doesn't agree with him. So it shouldn't be a surprise when people come on TV and feel the need to agree with him.
Nine barrels. When he says 9 barrels shooting at her, that obviously evokes images of a firing squad. It evokes images of an execution.
Let's execute a political opponent who happens to be a woman because I don't like her. And like
a woman.
Does that pull more low propensity voters in his coalition to the polls? I honestly don't think so.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter's a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical Warhawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all Warhawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person. And
yeah, so is, well, CNN thinks you're stupid. Thankfully, President Trump has just released this amazing ad. I'm going to play for you in a second. But Kelly Paul, who is Rand Paul's wife, she had this to say: "You are a shameless liar, Cassie." Trump was describing the hypocrisy of Liz Cheney's pro-war record when she would never know the terror of guns in her own face. Not surprised given your laughter when you reported on Rand's assault and injuries as your favorite story. Vile. Yes, these people are absolutely vile. This is extraordinarily irresponsible, made worse only by the fact that it's increasingly common across the political spectrum in the United States. Now, let's check out this new ad. President Trump just dropped this today.
free or greater.
Think about all they've done to Donald Trump. First, it was hoaxes, witch hunts, and impeachments. Then it was FBI raids, courtrooms, and mugshots. Finally, it was bullets in a Pennsylvania field. And after all that, this man stood up with blood draining down his face, pumped his fists in the air, and told us to fight. Fight. Fight.
America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. And we will make America great again.
We know what they think of us.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
So if Donald Trump can get through all of that, we can get out to vote.
This is it, folks. This is the final battle. Get out and vote. Don't let any of this disinformation that's being spread right now about Donald Trump sway you in any way. These are the same old tired tactics we've seen time and time again. And they are worthless. They are venomous, evil, satanic people working against you and me and this great nation. And it is time that we all stand up. We be louder than those who wish to cancel you. They have no power. We have power that has been given to us by the grace of God. We have been planted in this nation for such a time as this, and your voice and your vote matter now more than ever. So don't let anybody sway you. Don't let these lies sway you. You push back against them with truth. This is it. We're 4 days out. The nation needs you now. So when CNN's Cassie Hunt tries to spin Trump's Cheney moments as violent rhetoric, while CBS doctors Harris's interview, we're not seeing mistakes, we're seeing a pattern. As Rand Paul's wife, Kelly Paul, pointed out, these are shameless lies. And if Trump's lawsuit succeeds, it could force a return to real honest journalism. But here's what I want to know from you. What other examples of media twisting Trump's words have you witnessed? Share some of your findings in the comments below. And make sure you vote, vote, vote.